No, I do. No, I do.
Okay.
Okay, we can go.
All right.
Okay, so Joel, how is it at your place? How is
Everything
it
is
going?
fine. Flu is whooping me. Uh, I think I'll get better. I'm keeping myself hydrated,
Yeah, sure,
taking
sure.
vitamin C and all of that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Okay, so when students are going to the university, they feel so excited and they are, finally they have some freedom. So we want to know, how was it like for you when you finally got admitted to the university?
Oh, it was actually very interesting. I loved that moment a lot because well, I wanted to attend KNEST because I think my sister kept pushing KNEST in my head, and I had pharmacy at Legon. So it was arranged in such a way that you get your response from Legon and you have to accept and make your fee payments before you hear from KNEST. And if you don't do that, you sort of lose that particular spot. So although I wasn't excited about going to University of I that shot, and I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made because I enjoyed my time. I mean, I made trips to KNUST and all of that, but I enjoyed my time in University of Ghana. It shaped me in so many ways that I never envisioned. So yes, my entry into university was really great for me. I mean, it started off as okay, you don't want University of Ghana, but like just take a shot at it. And when I took a shot at it, I really enjoyed my time there. I don't regret not going to KNUST.
That's interesting. That's very so. Was there any decision that you made that you would say was a mistake?
Was it during that time or throughout uni?
Okay, let's start from before and then during.
Okay. Before, I'd say I'd say the hall. I wanted to be in Commonwealth Hall. I mean, this is very, very interesting. I mean, it's just students' way of thinking, right? I ended up in the Coffee Hall, but I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't a mistake at all. I could have survived in both environments. I don't know how I'd have turned out in Commonwealth as well, but I wouldn't say that's a big mistake. I made some mistakes along the line when I was in the university. So probably when you ask me that, then I would flow in with that information.
Okay, maybe you could share one or two.
Oh, one or two. The first one I'd say would be when I was in first year. So I studied pharmacy, right? I was a pharmacy student. When I was in first year, after our examinations, the second sem examinations, I remember we were speaking to our chemistry lecturer, one young lecturer who's like very, very cool with students. And I remember him advising my friend and I that I tweeted this out actually, that we should invest our time in learning a language or music or some skill, some non-pharmacy skill in our first year, because practically we don't have the requisite skills to impact or create a strong impact in whatever community pharmacy attachment that you're going to take. So that would help us later on, right? So I mean, I don't know what happened, but I didn't listen to the advice. And till today, I really regret. I can't play a musical instrument. I can't play a piano. I can't play a guitar, although I've tried. I mean, those were very formative times for me because I was just 16 or 17 years, right? I don't play guitar, nothing of that sort. I also can't speak French or any other language. And these are like very big regrets that I have, right? So it's a mistake that I'm living with, right? And I always regret, and I hope people don't make that mistake.
So it's very important for us to learn something outside of our program.
Yeah. Exactly. It makes you versatile. It improves the relationships that you build and all of that. It's just awesome. I miss that thought. I made up for
Okay.
it. I made up for it, and I'll
Oh,
talk about
okay.
it later.
Okay. So coming back to moving forward to your job as a career coach,
Okay.
many people might have come to you with problems, especially students,
Mhm.
when it comes to choosing careers and all. What do you think are the mistakes most of these students make?
Um, maybe I'll take it from maybe the challenges that they face, right? I'll take it from the challenges that they face. So I think most often than not, what I've realized with most students has got to do with career uncertainty. Career uncertainty. And it's more like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And it gets a bit daunting if whatever you're doing, whatever course you're studying, does not relate to a particular profession. So let's say I did pharmacy and I'll become a pharmacist. I did medicine, I'll become a doctor. I read law, I can become a lawyer. If you have someone maybe reading a general program like a social science program, then it becomes very tough because there's that uncertainty about, okay, what can I do? What do I need to do? So that's one top of the list. That is what I've seen, right? And beyond that, I mean, I hear them talking, not necessarily related to careers, but I hear them talking about, oh, how to balance academics, making sure that I'm making my grades and making sure that like when I graduate, I'll be able to get a job with my grades, etc. And then the last one will be networking. I'm trying to adjust my light. The last one will be networking. Um, Students feel like maybe they don't have a lot of value to offer, right? So then they struggle with making or building relationships with people who are ahead of them. So those are like the three things that I think most students struggle with: career uncertainty, navigating studies, which is quite normal, and networking. These three things.
Okay. So why do you think it's a problem for students? Do you think they are not being prepared enough in their secondary schools, or their parents are not doing a good job, or the students themselves are not helping themselves? What do you think is a problem?
It could be a myriad of factors, right? It starts from you owning your journey. It's something that I preach a lot, ownership, right? You owning your journey. But there are also surrounding factors like for me, like my parents are the type who would make sure they are paying your fees, right? I never really had deep career discussions with them. And I think there was a positive side to that because it got me to sort of fend for myself. And I happened to be the last born. So it was really great because I had um, people ahead of me who had made mistakes that I could tap from, right? So that's a sad thing about being a first and second born and all of that. At least I'm the fourth born, so I learned from a lot of mistakes that they made, and so that's one bit, like parents not being proactive about their child's builder. But even without your parents, you should be able to survive or make some decisions, right? So the other things boil down to I would say self-awareness, because I've realized that a lot of people are not sure about what skill they have or what they can bring to the table. A lot of students feel like, oh, I don't have anything to bring to the table. And even beyond that, they've not taken time to understand themselves in terms of knowing that, okay, these are my natural traits, these are my strengths. I'm naturally drawn to analytics, these are my weaknesses. I don't like engaging with people. And they don't have that top of mind awareness. I mean, I was in that situation as well. They don't have that top of mind awareness. So what happens is that because they are not aware, they are not able to like interact with the environment properly, they are not able to network effectively, they are not able to put their skills to use, they are not able to shape their learning pathways. So if you know that you are very good at analytics, you should probably be looking at maybe building like software or going into like learning Microsoft Excel. That's like the basic thing, right? Doing data analysis and all of that. If you feel like you are more creative, artistic, you can look at forms of writing like copywriting, you know, uh, like arts. You can even go into music. You can look at drawing. You can look at user experience and user interface design. You can look at branding like yourself, Nancy. and all of that, right? So it starts from self-awareness. That's one thing that I've seen, right? And mixed with a couple of fear. So the fear about jumping into the wrong profession, that okay, what if I start this and it does not go well? But I always say that it has to be like students have to understand that your priorities might change. You may have a plan, but your priorities might change. Like I entered my business analytics program thinking about going into like data stuff, deep stuff, and then in January I discovered tech product management, and I read about it, and I'm now thinking about going to tech product management because it blends like everything from my background, right? So those things happen. You just have to like stay curious and explore more. So I've spoken about self-awareness, fear. The last one I'll talk about is limited exploration. So limited exploration in the sense that normally when you're at that young age, you're not sure about the skills or the things that you can do. And sometimes speaking to a lot of people or reading and all of that does not cut it. Sometimes you just have to get involved in something. And then it pops out and you go like, oh, okay, I actually love this. I never thought that I could love this, right? And that becomes a beginning for you, like how you start a particular career along those lines. And this really works well for people who are reading general courses. And I know people who are even reading law and are doing like tech stuff, right? But they are still good at it because they decided to explore. So that limited exploration thing too has to be taken care of. And lastly, our structure, our educational system. When you study general arts, it's like, okay, that's it. You can't come and study anything science. When you study science, yes, you have the chance to go through different parts. When you study visual arts, you are just cast in a particular direction. And I think that hampers, that fuels the fear about, the profession, because it's like, okay, I want to switch, but I need to study, I need to get, this course done with. And should I just limit myself to this particular program I'm studying, or I should look outside, And it's more like priorities. Your parents are paying your fees, you're supposed to make your grades. And there are other things that are more interesting. Maybe that degree wouldn't get you the job. So, that's all of that fuels the fear. Okay, what if I study for the degree? Yes, I have first class, second class upper, but I don't get a job. Should I think about building a skill on the side? So it's a myriad of factors actually that causes them to struggle. I know I've spoken a lot, but yeah.
No, that's why we are here. That's why we are here. So I want to ask, so when is the right time to do all these things like self-awareness? Is it before university or during university, or you have to wait after because normally when you go to school, all you want to do is just pass your program and then just leave.
And move.
So when do we have to take all these things into consideration?
I would say very early enough. I really wish that self-awareness was being taught as early as JHS, right? As early as JHS, as early as primary. Then you see how you are molding your attitudes, your behaviors over time. Because most of these self-awareness things are, they are fueled by our soft sides, our behaviors, and it's very difficult to shape those things as compared to like technical skills, like being able to practice something over and over again and then getting better at it. So it should be as early as that. But I know it's a bit impractical in our setting, and I like what Ashesi does. I recently learned that when they come to first year, that's when they actually take you through CV building sessions. Okay. They don't take you through CV building sessions at the end of your program, right? It's during your first year so that you know what lies ahead, you know what is expected of you, and then you build the quality into yourself before you graduate, right? So I think that latest they should be able to get exposed to these things by your first year. But that doesn't mean that if you've not done it, it's late. The best time to have done that was yesterday, but the next best time is now, right? So you just have to just jump on it and try and discover yourself. Try and discover yourself and understand your strengths and weaknesses, because it influences a lot of things: your learning pathways, your career choices, how you relate to people, etc. And those are essential for whatever financial freedom, social freedom, whatever freedom that you want. It's really dependent on this. So yes, as early as first year, you should have that thing checked. And I think career guidance and counseling centers should be pushing that a lot. During those orientation phases and all of that, they should have students. I don't know the situation now, but they should have students filling out these career assessments. They should own it. Not that we are coming to chase you, but you need to fill it out. They give you a reason why you should. And then when you are able to own it and then you get it done, you are setting yourself up for success, basically.
Okay. So since some of us are not in Ashesi University, where can we where can we do some of these things? Like we are already in school and our school doesn't allow us to do those things. Where can we get to assess ourselves to know, okay, I'm good at this, I can do that? Yeah.
So I would say that okay, so this is what I did, right? I understood that particular issue about self-awareness. So as part of what we have on our website, like our freebies, we have like links to self-awareness tests that you can take. Right. So I've put that in the chat section. So people can actually click it. But I think after the event, you can also send it to them to take a look. There are a lot of self-awareness, should I say, platforms that you can use and tests, right? You can have Myers-Briggs, you can have the DISC, you can have Enneagram. There are a lot. And the more you take them, I mean, each of them have their pros and cons. So when you read about it, you take them. There are free versions and there are paid versions. If you don't have money to buy the paid versions, you can still get the free version. That's like a step closer, all right? And through that, you are more like knowing yourself, understanding yourself more, and that can feed into your decisions. So I've put in the chat section. Anybody can access it.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So what are some of the skills that we as students need to learn whilst in school?
Okay. I'll say that in school, you get to build a lot of soft skills. There are things that we get to overlook, right? But those are things that I mean, there are several opportunities that you get to build soft skills. And one major skill that people talk about is problem solving. I think you even mentioned it, right? Problem solving. One thing about problem solving as a skill is that it's a blend of a lot of skills. So you can't solve a problem by just having problem solving skills. Like it has to be broken down, and there are several facets, right? So when you go on Indeed, there's something that it's even online. When you go on Indeed, or when you even type problem solving skills, Indeed is the first thing that comes up, right? And that's on Google. And then they list certain things. So active listening, analysis, research, creativity, communication, time management, decision making, team building. You can't solve problems without doing any of these things. So when people say problem solving skills, they actually mean these skills, like a blend of these skills, because first of all, you identify a problem, you need to do a lot of active listening. If you want to drill deep into the problem to know what are the causes, what are the challenges, you need to employ active listening skills. After doing that, you need to analyze your findings, right? Even if you start finding solutions, you need to analyze. Your research also comes in. And there's also something that I'm going to chip in that I think every student should learn how to do advanced Google search. I didn't get exposed to advanced Google search when I was in school, but it's on YouTube. You can just type advanced Google search and you find a lot of resources on there. What advanced Google search does is that it helps you to drill down your Google search, like refine it, right? You're able to reduce results from, let's say, 1 million results to about 4 results or 5 results, so that you have a very focused way of finding information, because finding information is a very big fuel to your success, in my opinion, in the experiences that I have, not just for students, even for professionals who are job navigating and all of that. It's very important to chase information. So research, in the context of research, I'm thinking that everybody should have like advanced Google search skills, and you can find that and learn that on YouTube. it comes with practice, and you'll be amazed at the kind of things that you can find with your advanced Google search skills. Then creativity, you need to get creative at the junction where you are trying to bring up a solution. You need to get creative, right? You need to employ the left side of your brain, as they say. You need to look at different options. You need to look at, okay, how can I even blend these different options to have like a unique option that doesn't exist, right? And that's how you get to stand out in the kind of solutions that you build. You need to communicate. So throughout the process, active listening actually falls under communication a bit. So you are engaging people or students, or let me say even professionals, sometimes think that communication is just about, you being able to speak to someone, but it goes beyond public speaking. Communication is, being able to transmit information for someone to understand, and also you receiving information for someone to understand. And it can be oral, or it can be, how do you put it? Non-oral or non-verbal. So the way you behave, right, when speaking to someone, right, talking to someone and not having eye contact and all of that, sometimes shows that maybe you probably are not trustworthy. That's the interpretation on the other side. You might be shy, but then it probably means that you're not trustworthy. So you should be maybe doing exercises like looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at yourself, your eyeball in the mirror. The first time I tried that, though, I was I was shy of myself. Can you imagine? I was doing an interview prep and I was like, wow, Joel, you're shy of yourself in the mirror. You can't even just look yourself in the mirror into your eyeball and then speak. And it was quite interesting. I think everybody should try that. So communication covers verbal and even written communication. And also the other bit that I'm going to add on there is about cold emailing or cold messaging. I think that's also another thing that everybody has to learn about. It's a whole, should I say, course? because then before you reach out to someone you don't know, cold emailing means you're reaching out to someone that you don't know. You've never engaged with them before, but there's a way to craft your messaging to get them to be very receptive, right? And there are lots of resources that you can find online as well with respect to cold emailing. You can Google that right now and you find that. So communication would cover both written, verbal or non-verbal communication, which is like your actions and all of that. And time management. So in the process of solving a problem, you don't have a lot of time. You need to make sure that you're sticking to timelines, you're working with other people, maybe they are waiting for feedback from you. You need to make sure that you're communicating timelines, etc. Right? So that also plays a role, making sure that you are managing your time effectively and focusing your attention on what matters most. Then there's decision making. That's where your analytical thinking comes to play. So you need to decide, okay, at this point, I have these options. These are the pros and cons for each option. But let me choose this option and then try it and see. Or let me go with this option and try it and see. So that point of decision making is also key. And sometimes you ride on the decisions of, you feed into your decision making skills by tapping from people who have been there. And that's why you speak to mentors, you speak to peers, you speak to, basically anyone who's been through certain situations that you're trying to solve. Then the last one is team building or collaboration. You get to collaborate with people in the process. You may end up not solving the problem alone. You may end up doing it with a team, and you need to know how you can relate to people. So that's where your self-awareness comes to play, because if you know that your self-awareness when you take a self-awareness test and it exposes that maybe you're someone who loves to talk, not everybody in the team would appreciate that. So you need to look at the balance. Okay, I shouldn't talk much. I need to put my point across concisely. I need to make sure that I'm not losing my audience. All of those things come to play. So that's how self-awareness too comes to play. So these are like the problem-solving skills are very close, because I think if you're a student and you have that, it really helps, because you're able to navigate a lot of things, even job hunting and all of that, you're able to navigate it easily compared to people who do not have that. The other things I would add is that you need to be curious, you need to be proactive. Those are like traits that you have to train yourself to do. So when you are looking at finding information for something, the first thing to do shouldn't be to go and speak to someone necessarily. The first thing to do is to maybe consult Google or YouTube And then based on the information that you get, you now consult someone and you let them know that, oh, I've done so and so research, and this is what I found, but I wanted to confirm with you, since maybe this is your domain, how do you think I should go about it? That way, the person does not see you as a huge pile of work. They feel like, oh, this person is more committed to the problem. So they are forced, right? They are forced, or there's a higher chance that they'll be forced to help you, as compared to something that you could have maybe really Googled just by Googling maybe problem solving skills. And then you go and see Nancy and you ask Nancy, Nancy, what are the problem solving skills? Nancy might not find you serious because the internet is quite accessible, right? But it's different when you go like, Nancy, I read about problem solving skills. They said active listening, analysis, research, creativity. I know you're a brand person. How do you employ like creativity in your problem solving situations for clients? That kicks off the conversation, makes it more open. Nancy is more committed, feel like, hey, this person has prepared. Well, let me also level up and then give them more info. So being curious is very key, and owning the process is also key. The last thing I'll touch on is the technical skills, which should be like I think they should be related more to technology software stuff, right? So like there's the basic Microsoft Office skills, like Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel. Google has its version, which is the Google Suite. So Google has its version of these three things and several other apps as well. These things help you to, manage like analyze data. You can learn how to do data analysis. You can also learn beyond these things that I've mentioned. You can learn digital marketing. You can learn business analysis. I mean, those are quite advanced, but I know people who are students who are learning software programming, and they are not more than you, right? You have the capabilities irrespective of what you're studying. So the technical skills also exist. So yes, problem solving, technical skills, curiosity, ownership, proactiveness. I think that works.
So we have established that these skills are really crucial. But the question is, why aren't we learning these skills?
I mean, it comes. it's a very interesting question, right? There are several reasons. There could be people lack of resources, like genuine. Maybe that someone does not have a smartphone, they don't have internet connection, they are broke, they can't buy bundles and stuff. You see, that serves as a barrier, and I mean those reasons are quite valid, right? But beyond that, I just think that it really boils down to self-awareness, being aware. It always starts from there, right? When you get to that level of self-awareness, you realize that I'm not owning this process as much. I'm not being curious as much, right? That bit is very important, because when you're able to get self-aware, you really work on yourself, right? You can then say that, okay, my strengths are telling me that I'm very creative. I'm not good at analysis. You can actually pick a challenge and say, I want to get good at analysis. I want to be like flawless. So, I mean, not flawless entirely, but I want to be flawless, right? So I'd learn how to do data analysis and I'll couple that with my creativity. And it's something that if you decide to do, you can do. And the interesting thing is that as you're on your way to build your technical skills, like data analysis, you tend to use all your soft skills, because you have to get in touch with someone, you use your communication skills, you have to write to them, you use your written communication skills, you have to do a bit of research, all those soft skills, the problem solving skills that I mentioned would come in handy because you have a problem and you're trying to solve it. So all the things that I listed earlier tends to feed into that. There's also the bit about mentorship. So I would say I had mentorship coming in as an active thing when I finished school, when I finished my NSS actually, and became a pharmacist. I had the chance to work with a mentor for 6 months. I mean, it wasn't a paid job. I got a job, a side job as a community pharmacist. But in line with my career plan, I wanted to go specifically somewhere. So working with him within that period taught me a lot of things, right? Some of the things that he exposed me to are the things that I even use at Career View. So mentorship is key. People who are ahead of you, and then people who are also your peers. Your peers can mentor you. People think that your peers cannot mentor you. People below you can even mentor you. I joined some data analytics boot camp that had people in uni mentoring me. And I mean, there's just that deficit. You have to just come to terms with it that you don't have that skill, so you're going to learn, or you don't have that particular trait, so you're going to learn. So mentorship also comes with a bit of humility. It's not just people who are ahead, but you can get mentorship from your peers, you can get mentorship from people below you. Then limited use of the internet. People who have internet, but maybe they are mostly focusing on social media. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying quit social media. You find me a lot of times on Twitter. My business, I have a lot of people hitting me up through Twitter. So I'm not saying that quit social media, but balance it. Try and use YouTube. YouTube has a lot of videos, resources. You can read reviews and stuff. There are online courses that you can also pick from. So I think that limited use of internet is what serves also as a barrier to students picking up skills. Then the last thing is fear of failure. The failure factor, that fear thing is always there, right? People feel like, can I do this? Will I be able to do this? Oh, it's too tough. Just jump in.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Just jump in.
And sometimes also we fear that we might fail our program because the program load is too much. You can't even combine it with other things. Yeah.
That's true. And you know the interesting part, there are people who have actually done the stuff that we are studying, and they had hacks to it, right? Most often than not, it's something that comes under mentorship. Most often than not, we don't even reach out to someone in, let's say, in first year, someone in the second or third year. You don't even find the edge to reach out to them to find out about how they're able to navigate this. They are ahead. In hindsight, they can give you some very quick hacks that you can employ. And for when I was a teaching assistant at University of Ghana, my year group, we used to give the students those kind of quick hacks. And when we're in even second or third year, we had the final years like giving us that information. But when you don't ask, nobody knows your problem, right? So it's always good to ask, right? There's always a way. You can always balance it out.
Okay. So it all boils down to being intentional and then trying to own your own education and taking action. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So where do teachers and parents come in when it comes to learning these skills?
Learning these skills. I think they are the best mentors that you can also reach out to, right? There's also the fear. I mean, throughout your mentorship process, getting information from people, always understand that people have their own biases. It's a key thing that you need to take note of. Don't take someone's word as final, right? People have their own biases.
Yeah.
So in the process of engaging these people, it's very good to apply your critical thinking skills. Sometimes your critical thinking skills do not work. You just have to jump in and see how it turns out, right? So you should be ready to make mistakes. It hurts, I mean, but you should be ready to make mistakes, not very, very deep mistakes. Sometimes the mistakes are having like very high stakes. The stakes are high, and then you just take that very huge risk. You should always balance it out, but it's also dependent on your risk tolerance level and all of that, right? So teachers, like I'm saying that because teachers and parents may have their own biases. If our parents have very huge biases most of the time, sometimes they want you to go into a particular profession, maybe because they didn't get into that profession, or it would be nice to have my child being this, an architect or a doctor or a pharmacist or whatever it is, right? But you also have to try and get information from other people. So yes, parents and teachers can be very good mentors, and even outside that particular circle of mentors, if you're interacting with mentors, it's good to always look at it from an objective point of view. You gather the information, and then you assess it whether it is something that would really work for you or would not work for you. And then most importantly, you test. Don't stay in the idea stage. Test. If you don't test, you wouldn't see the realities. Trust me. So when you get the ideas, always make it a point to test and be ready to fail or make a mistake.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So I have a final question.
Okay.
What's the future like for Ghanaian students?
That's a very broad question. Oh. It's a very broad question, but
in terms of career.
In terms of career, okay. So I always drop the stats. There's a statistic I think by the World Bank Group. So 2018, there were about 110,000 graduates from the tertiary level, right? And personally, I'm not convinced that about 110,000 jobs were created in Ghana around that same period. So there's always going to be competition, right? There's always going to be competition. There are people who saw this poster of the Better Me project and ignored. And there are people like you who took it seriously and decided to join. That's where the difference starts. That's where the ownership starts, right? So yes, the competition is going to exist. You can't take it away. And as a student right now, you should be focusing on building the right capacity beyond the soft skills. Build a technical skill. I mean, it can range from writing to art to tech to designing. Like, it's really huge, right? And one thing that for me I've seen in Ghana is that there's a lot of, sometimes it's not a case of unemployment, there's a lot of underemployment. So you have a good qualification, but because there are limited opportunities, you don't, that's the economics, right?
Yeah.
If you have a high demand for something, you can hike the price, right? And if you have a low demand, you can sort of reduce the price. That's when you have a lot of supply. So in this case, we have a lot of supply of graduates, right? And the jobs are few. So because of that, you can actually, as an employer, you can actually break down what you'd want to pay people and you can still get someone to work with, right? That's not right, but that's the reality on the ground. So there are a lot of cases of underemployment for graduates. And I think to escape that, one of the things to look at is maybe the gig economy. Like there are platforms where you can sort of work on a project-based basis, right? You have a particular skill like designing or let's say even CV writing or data analysis, whatever it is. Make sure that you're perfecting those skills and you're standing out. You can also decide to go the entrepreneurship route, which is quite tough. For me, I'd advise that you always like try and experience some sort of like test your ideas with someone's business before you start off yours, basically. So you need to volunteer more, right? You need to make sure that you're doing internships, you're volunteering, you're being proactive, you're looking for problems actively. You're not going into a place to work and then you feel like, oh, there's no work, so that's it. You should be curious, ask questions. What are the problems that they are facing? Sometimes the problems are very, very basic. For me, when I started off my career, a problem as basic as where I was interning, right? My boss, as in my mentor, he was the Greater Accra Regional Chairperson for Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. And they had meetings, right? They had periodic meetings, but the thing is, they are not able to forecast people who come to the meeting. That is one. And when you go for those meetings, there are forms, registration forms that you'd write your name, right? You write your pharmacy number, you write your email, your phone number, a lot of details, about 8 to 10 of them, and then you sign, right? And I found that a bit repetitive, right? What if we could gather all that information and what you just do is to sign? It would make life easier. That was just a basic problem I thought about. And that was the first time I discovered Google Forms when I finished uni. So me, I wasn't giddy like that, but it's something that I picked up along the way, right? I discovered Google Forms when I finished uni. So I just built a Google form, gather all those details, right? It helps you to forecast. It helps you to know that this number of people are probably going to come. We sent it via WhatsApp. And then what I did was that after getting the details, I ranked the ID numbers in ascending order. I splitted them into different Excel sheets and I printed them out. And boom, when you come to the registration site, each sheet has the range. So you just look for the range and then you look for your name using that ascending order, you sign, and then you go into the room. So that was like something very basic, but I felt so good solving that problem because I was like, wow, I've like relieved a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are like 200 people, 300 people coming for meetings, and there's always crowding at the gate. There was no more crowding. So you can imagine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's just by the way, but like build the right skills, the technical skills, talk to people, find mentors, stay curious, and make sure that you are not looking at just the local job market, but in the next 3-5 years after school, you are breaking into global job market because Corona has come, hiring remotely is becoming a thing, and companies are hiring remotely. At this stage, it's more like middle level people. It's not really a lot of entry level people. For entry level people, you can get like freelance works like on platforms like Upwork, etc. But for mid-level people, there's a chance to break into those like global job markets. And if you don't build a skill now, you would miss out on that opportunity. So yes, don't take chances. Make sure you're putting in the work. And one last thing that I think I left out, I was a pharmacy student, but I was part of Echo. Echo is like Echo is actually a marketing company. On campus, they were seen as a party group. But if you don't know that it's a marketing company, you never know. And Echo shaped a lot for me. That's where I learned how to use social media. When I finished school, my first business that I started was social media marketing, handling like accounts for like Ministry of Gender. Can you imagine? Ministry of Gender. We set up their social media accounts and all of that. And I mean, it was amazing. Some little cash came through and it felt good. And it's all because like I took Echo seriously. One thing that I didn't take seriously was photography. At the point in time, I was shooting photos. There are people that I introduced to photography who actually have fully fledged business now, but I didn't take the opportunity. So these are part of the mistakes, right? If you find yourself getting into something that you can perfect and monetize, just keep going at it and it will be very rewarding in the future. So that's what I would end with.
Thank you very much. So what's in summary, what we have to do is just be self-aware and then also stay curious and take chances, take opportunities.
And explore, like just explore, just keep exploring.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we'll bring our discussion to a close here, and then I'll give the floor to Benjamin to continue.
Nice. Thank you so much. I was just listening and I was just so excited about the way the ideas were just coming from Joe. I was just so excited and I also love I must give it to Nancy. I loved how she conducted the interview. It was like I was watching some serious interviewing some serious productivity optimizer, So I'm really excited. I'm really excited about it. And I'm sure the audience also enjoyed the conversation and had a lot of insights. I'm not going to try to go over whatever you said because the points were just crystal clear. Okay, but at this point, I would just invite people to ask questions to Joel. I think you've had the discussion for about 50 minutes, and so you can do about 20 minutes of question and answers to just engage with the audience to find out any struggles that you think the productivity optimizer can help you with. So at this point, you can raise your hand, and then I will let you turn on the microphone, and then you ask your question, or you can write your question in the chats, and then we can answer them for you. So yeah, okay. Oreku Asare wants to ask a question. So Oreku, please unmute and go on. And while Oreku is asking, you can also write yours in the chat and then we can read it out. Okay. Oreku, go
on. Thank you very much. Please, I would like to ask, when Mr. Kariahel was talking about self, sorry, was talking about self-awareness. I just wanted to ask, you see, we find ourselves in society where peer pressure is a major issue. Okay, so right after high school, we would all want to go to our dream universities, okay? But in instances whereby the course you wanted to pursue, maybe because of the university's cutoff point, you would have to wait for about a year or two before you can get into the university and then do the course you wanted. Realize that friends or your peers, yes, are all trying to troop into that same universities with their own courses they want to offer. But since they are all going into the school and then you don't want to stay home, you tend to also follow their career path and then do the courses they are also doing, forgetting that maybe somewhere in level 300 second semester or 400, you then come to realize that you've made a mistake. So in instances like that, how will you solve that issue? And then my second question too has to do with volunteering after school. Okay, in Ghana here, when you are volunteering for certain companies, usually they don't compensate you. They don't give you any monthly stipends. It's like you are doing it for free. Okay, but sometimes most of us, from where we are coming from, it's very, very difficult for you to work without getting paid. So how are we supposed to handle this volunteering issue? And then we wouldn't have any problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, those are two tough questions, actually. So the first one is about the feeling of missing out, right? And are you let me understand you clearly. Are you looking at the situation where you've already taken a decision and you're 3 years into it, or you're looking at the situation where you're about to take the decision? That's like before uni.
Yes, a situation whereby you're about to take the decision, but because of peer pressure, you tend to you just decide because your friends are going, so you also want to go. And then you realize that somewhere level 300 second semester also. So before entering uni. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity. So for me, I'd say that it's great that all of us are on this call, because in the end, we get to be ambassadors for our younger siblings, people in the church and all of that, right? I've had situations where people approach me at church and say, "I'm pharmacist." And then I end up asking them, "Oh, nice for na we be no dear person." And most of the time it's not, they've not listened to their children, right? So the forces are a lot. There are forces from that's not peer pressure, but like, let me say parental pressure, if there's a word like that. And then there's the peer pressure bit as well. And at the point of the child facing that peer pressure, it should be the job of the parents, right? Or an elder sibling or an elder cousin to come in, to jump in and then speak to the child at that point. Because I mean, when you're at that age, there are some, that peak of your developmental phase where you feel like probably you know everything. It's something that happens like through high school, when you start getting, those, when you go through those puberty stages and all of that, and adolescence and all of that, you feel like, hey, you're on top of the world. You don't listen, right? When you're being advised. So it's up to, there should be stronger external forces than the peer pressure. For me, that's what I think, in my opinion. And if as a parent you're the one going to pay the fees, you should be able to make like very strong decisions with your child. I'm not saying for your child, but with your child. If you are an elderly sibling or elderly cousin, you should be able to make such strong decisions and also have the child's or the student's view incorporated in the decision-making process. Because you wouldn't want them to join a course just because their friends are joining the course and then later they are not able to get satisfied with their career or whatever it is, right? It's very important at that stage to use all those external forces to make sure that the child's decision is overridden. That is if it is validated that what they are really going for is because of peer pressure, or it's actually what they want. So there's that part of the assessment as well, where you are trying to know whether what they are really going for is something that they love, something that they've thought about, and it's not because their friends are going to study that program. I mean, and it's good too, because mostly you realize that you make your choices, your university choices, your courses and all of that. So there's like a bit of focus from that point. So that can be a baseline for you in terms of making decisions for the child, or I mean, deciding together with the child on whether they have to enter uni for that particular year or not. There's that particular bit too, and I'm sure probably we have such people on the call who may have gone through the situation of peer pressure and they are already in it. I'll say that, I mean, all hope is not lost. Make sure you are finishing your degree. If people are studying law and are learning UI, UX design, or software programming and all of that, you can still learn what you want to learn. I know people who studied pharmacy, later went on to do medicine, did additional 4 years. I know people who have pivoted, like I did pharmacy, I'm pivoting into tech now after 5 years of my career, right? So as I always say, the best decision should have been made. The best time to make a decision was yesterday, but the next best time is now, where you have to shape your mindset towards the future. So if you find yourself in that situation, to make sure that you're building the necessary skills, you're being self-aware, you're exploring, you're speaking to people, you're engaging them and finding more information to shape your decision-making process. So I hope, Oreko, this answers your question some way, somehow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And you had a second question, what was it?
Yes, about the volunteering.
The volunteering thing. Yeah, I do understand, right? I do understand. And first of all, I would want us to understand two things: that in the world of, I mean, people, they are socialists and they are capitalists, right? There are different ways of thinking when you come out of school. Realize that socialists are more focused on how to get society better. Everybody must benefit, all of that. Capitalists too, I was like, because everybody, the value you bring to the table is what contributes to the overall profit. So if you are bringing value to the table, then you get paid for it, right? And as a student, I know it's very hard, right? It's, for me, it's my wish that we had a lot of companies paying students, like when you volunteer with them. For me, I realize that sometimes I have budget constraints. So I make sure that I'm making everything, like I've taken my first student, actually. It was a very, very hard decision because I knew that I can't afford to pay interns, right? I wasn't ready to bring them on board. And that is how a lot of companies feel. And one thing my mentor taught me earlier was that if you are going to intern at a place and they are not willing to pay you, you have a negotiation power. And you have to negotiate for something as flexible as possible. And it also gives you the chance to make a lot of mistakes. I'm not saying that you should go there purposely to make mistakes, but it gives you the chance to make a lot of mistakes. And that becomes a very good initiative it becomes a very good learning curve for you. So for me, what I've actually moved towards is that, okay, fine, I may not be able to give you stipends and all that. I mean, if you have to use internet, I'll make sure that you're not going to use your own resources. I'll make sure that you're working remotely, you're not traveling to an office. Like, nothing should cost you. And in the end, I'm making sure that whatever career navigation skills, all the resources that we have, you're benefiting maximally from it. And it's interesting how the people that I've worked with have actually built that capacity over the years, right? They've been able to build their capacity. Like, I'm actually building them to be like me or more than me. You get the point? So the bit about internships, I know it's wild, it's hard. And some companies would want you to use your money to travel. They won't pay you, all of that. And it might come at a cost for you. So if you are in a position where you're not able to afford, you can look at scouting for internships online, like on Twitter, on Facebook. You see maybe a small business, they are building something, right? For me, what I remember discussing with my mentor, when I went into that internship, I didn't think about salary because I could afford it, right? But not everybody is in that particular situation. So if you are looking at cutting down a lot of costs, operational costs, movement here and there, look at ways to build your skill creatively. If you've learned maybe how to do data analysis, approach a small business and let them know that you want to analyze their data for them, right? It may not be an internship because you can't afford necessarily, but just approach them and let them know that I want to do this for you, so that it exposes you to a real situation, right? And while we hope that most businesses would be thinking about paying interns or making enough to pay interns, this is also a way that you can sort yourself out so that you are not found missing or wanting at the end. Because in the end, if you don't partake in all these skill building activities, you would end up not having practical skills, and that might impact your future. So Oreko, I hope I've also been able to address that particular
yes, thank you very much. Yes,
look at it creatively. Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
Benis's hand has been up
Yes.
for time.
Dennis, I hope your arms are not paining you. Please ask your question, okay? Hi, Dennis.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so my question is, sometimes, especially immediately after school, you find yourself I'll use the word at a crossroads, because, for example, if you're doing pharmacy, which I did in school, you have a lot of opportunities. You can divert into so many areas, which is good, but at the same time, it makes you a little bit confused, because for me, like this, I have a lot of interest, and obviously I cannot do all at once. So I'm always scared that the one I would choose is probably not what I would have been the best at. And maybe what I would have been the best at is what I didn't choose. So I'm wondering if you felt like that at any point in time, and how are you able to deal with the thought?
Okay. I mean, I've been confused as well. Pharmacy will give you like an area of opportunities. You can branch into various fields. The best part of our training is that it helps you to you get a taste of each field before you finish school, at least industry, community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy. You get to experience these three things before you get out of school. And that helped me very well, because after doing hospital pharmacy, I realized that it's not something that I wanted to do, because I'm not someone, boils down to self-awareness. I'm someone who is very extroverted. I love to engage people. So I would want to do something that gets me to engage with people, right? And the next opportunity that I could lay my hands on was community pharmacy. But whilst thinking about community pharmacy, when I was in school, I had a contract job with a company called Sanisphere, where you go to pharmacies, you do surveys and stuff. And that was the first time I got exposed to marketing, because basically the company sort of sells the data to pharma companies to shape their market strategy and all of that. So I felt like, okay, this is actually something that's cool, and it's something unconventional. It's something I would want to do. So I started exploring. I started getting in touch with people. We had this program on campus called My Choice of a Career, where we have people come and talk about their careers, like a week in their lives and all of that. And it was really insightful. So I tapped from all of those things. And by final year, I told myself that, okay, I'm going to try to go into pharmaceutical marketing. If it doesn't work out, I'll backtrack quickly. But I made that firm decision. And I also have a lot of interest, right? So at that point, I was like, let me just make sure that I'm focusing on one interest. Like I need to pick one out of them. So I looked at community pharmacy. Yes, it gives me the chance to interact with people, but I'm still stationed somewhere. And I needed something that would get me moving, interacting with people. And it looked like pharmaceutical marketing was what was going to cut it for me. So I decided to stick with it. And I started pharmaceutical marketing, did it for 3.5 years. I'll say 4 years in total, because my internship was for 6 months. So I did it for like 4 years in total. And I realized that, oh, okay, I can actually move on to something that I want. I want to go into data. And I found myself doing my master's. And just 4 or 5 months into my master's, I'm like, okay, it's actually tech product management. I can blend my sales background, I can blend my healthcare background and data background as well. So it gets to a point where you have to start thinking about how you can blend your backgrounds to make you a unique person. somebody very unique. Nobody can replicate you because maybe you have some data analysis skill, you're good at communicating, you're good at sales, and whatever decision you are going into makes a very good use of these three skills. Because beyond just loving the skill or loving the profession you want to go into, you also have to make sure that you're competent in there. And that's what brings in the reward, which is the money. So my mentor has this thing that he always says that you learn before you earn, and then you leave a legacy. So at the beginning stages, if you focus so much on earning, I know, yeah, it can be hard, but try and balance it out. Make sure that you are doing a lot of learning, because people pay you for value. People won't pay you just because you know something, but people pay you because you've applied that thing, and that thing is bringing in money to them, or it's helping them meet their targets or their objectives. Then that way they are more likely to compensate you, right? Or they would compensate you for your work. So focus on doing a lot of learning, and then the earning would definitely come in. Trust me, it works like magic. The earning comes in, and then you can also leave a legacy. Like, I'm here talking about careers and all of that. It's something that I think would help students who are coming up. Yeah, so blend your skills. Basically, look at opportunities to blend your skills to make you a unique individual, and just jump into the opportunities. If it doesn't work, you can always backtrack. It's a lesson, not a time lost. Always have that in mind. It's always a lesson.
Thank you so much, Joe. Benis, do you have any further questions, or that's all? I think that's
Okay, please, that's all. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Benis. And I think before we go on, I have to do a shout out to Sharon. Sharon has been cheering on in the comments,
Sharon,
giving you them and all that in the stuff that the punchlines you are doing. So shout out to Sharon. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please just raise your hand. And then
Sharon inspires me. Sharon is studying law, but she's doing UI, like user interface, user experience. So when you open nice websites, the website that you enjoy, the experience and all of those things, the people behind it.
Wow.
Sharon is building her capacity in there.
Okay.
Law, design, like,
it doesn't really make sense.
you understand? It doesn't make sense, and she's making it make sense, you know.
But it makes sense, yes.
So,
yes.
yeah.
Those
are the things that
you can.
Benis also does programming. She does data analysis and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are things that you can do, right? These are things that you can do. Our ladies are inspiring us. So we also have to pick ourselves up and then get it done.
Yeah. I think right now, Benis and Sharon, Nancy and I are going to schedule you in the future better. So don't worry. We are going to have you share with us all how you ended up in this.
That would be great. I would also join to listen.
Sure. We do that. Okay. So Oracle has his hand up again, but I had a question that I thought could be we could even share your thoughts on. The idea is about the internship. Okay. I feel like you can do internships even for your friends. Okay. And the idea that's come to mind is that I think I shared it on the Twitter space some time ago, that if you have a friend who is starting a business and you are learning a certain skill, I think you could, even in the classroom, you can contribute that kind of skill to help the friend do their business. Because if you are all in the universities and then you are all studying, your friend doesn't have so much money to be hiring people to work for them. So it is something that you can do as a learner, an active learner, as I would put it.
An active learner, yes.
As I would put it, to contribute your skills to your friends, business, and it's going to be a small portfolio that you are going to. So internship does not always have to be applied to an organization to go and
exactly.
Just applying your skills to anything that is possible. I mean, you can intern for yourself. I mean, if you are teaching, if it is working for you, if you are experimenting your skills, as you said, and it is working on your business, I mean, it's like an internship, but you are doing it for yourself.
Exactly. Because the focus of internship is really to put your skills into like a real world situation. When you're learning things in theory, you feel like you're on top of the world. You are placed in the situation. That's where you realize that, wow, this is really it. And I don't know I think I've said this somewhere before, but I would say here, I have never been in a CV clinic before. I have never been in a CV clinic before. I discovered that my CV was poor when I was in in final year. That was 2015, right? Yeah, that was when I discovered that. And when I started, it was experimentation. I learned the skill, put it to use. So, oh, you want to do a CV? Come, I'll do it for you. I didn't know how to do it perfectly, but come, I'll do it for you. And people were happy about it. I learned off the internet. I read a lot of things and then put stuff together and then kept testing the results. Okay, this did not work. This worked. Let's modify. So my CV went through a lot of phases, right? Different formats and stuff. And it got really peak in 2018 when I realized that, okay, beyond CV writing, I was able to because I was very curious about things, I was able to help people navigate spaces. And one example is one guy who wanted to work with the company. I told him that, see, he actually told them that he wanted to do an internship. The company did not agree. And it boils down to the same situation I was talking about, right? Companies may not have budget for interns. So in order to not brand them as people who do not care, they would rather tell you that we don't have internship slots. So I told him that, see, if you can afford it, good. Go in there, tell them that you are in here because you want to build your skills. So this is the trade-off. You are dedicating your time, and they would also that they need more hands. And in exchange, they will also help you in grooming your skills. That's how you're getting paid. Because at any point in time, there should be exchange in value. So he went in, and he did that on the second try, wrote the cover letter and everything, put in an application. There was no open vacancy. And then he got into the organization. They were shocked. They were like, why do you really want to intern with us, right? And after discussions and all of that, they got him in. And that was after his professional exam as a pharmacist. 1 month in, the company opened the role, and guess what? He was hired for the job. So before the following year, he had a job ready. I'm not saying that it's always going to be that way. Mine was 6 months. His was 1 month. I know one other lady who did not get retained in that particular job, but when she went into a different organization during her interview, she was able to articulate that. And they were like, wow, that's impressive. You are very proactive, blah, blah, blah. And we are looking for proactive people for the sales job. So you're hired, and they made a decision on her. So, it happens, right? I'm not saying that it will always go down this way, but you can just look at ways of practicalizing the skills. In 2019, I realized that people were abusing what I was giving them because they wouldn't honor meetings, they wouldn't get back feedback and all of that. I was like, okay, probably this is the time to slap a price on it. And that's how Productivity Optimizer started. And then we are transitioning to CareerView, and it's been an amazing journey. So always test your ideas. Make sure you're putting it to practice. Whichever setting you get it, just test. It works.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joe. Guys, do you have any further questions? We'd be glad to have them, because you don't always get Productivity Optimizer on your webinar. So if you have a better one here, and he has already talked about not fearing. Doing away with your fear, or doing whatever you want to do in spite of your fears. So ask your questions. You won't die. Olivia, I know you have questions. We never run out of questions. So ask your questions.
Olivia is the one. Is the lady interning with me.
Yes, Olivia. Olivia was my student. And she's always bothering me. So. Okay. Well, if no one has any further questions, Oreko, I saw your hand up, or is it gone?
I'm here, please.
Okay, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, I with regards to what Mr. Joel said in terms of remote internships. I remember last Thursday, the day before yesterday, on Miss Ivy's page on Twitter, which of course I saw Mr. Joel there. The subject line was how to get remote jobs from our respective destinations. And then Mr. Edem Kumoji made a comment. He passed a comment that it is very difficult. And in fact, he advised that it will be best if you are sure of yourself as a senior developer. I'm talking in respect to IT and then computer science. So he said it is best if you are a senior developer for you to apply or find out for this remote jobs because of the experience he's had with junior developers and then the mid-level developers. But because of COVID, it seems we've all transitioned to this internet space to work for organizations and then companies. So I don't know. Mr. Joel said remote internships. I don't know how would that work, because most organizations would want to employ people who are really, really fit for the job.
Okay. So if you can recall, I mentioned a couple of things. I mentioned that if you are looking at breaking into remote work 3 to 5 years after uni, you can actually break into it. I don't know if you caught that fact. And it's because currently the entry bar into remote jobs, actual remote jobs, is quite high. So these are like companies sitting in Europe or US or whatever it is. And it's not just tech, it cuts across like customer service, sales, etc. But they need people with a bit of experience, right? And they are not taking interns. I mean, some companies do take interns. Oh, and lest I forget, you should follow these guys, SEO Africa. They have these programs that they do that can get you it can get you in a top organization like Goldman Sachs and all of that. And they are looking for they recruit interns on an annual basis, right? And these are like paid internships where you get to fly to London, accommodation taken care of. Like, it's a vibe. It's not just Goldman Sachs, there's Bank of America, and a couple of others, right? There are a couple of opportunities that you can see. So you just have to get in touch with SEO Africa. You can find them on the internet, SEO Africa. So that is just one bit. But what I meant by remote internships was that Olivia, although Olivia is quite close to me, right? Olivia actually reached out to me that she wanted to do something for Productivity Optimizer. Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for putting it in the chat. So Olivia reached out to me that she wanted to do something for Productivity Optimizer. I wasn't ready. I got nervous. I was jittery about the situation. I was like, okay, fine. I need to give it a thought. So I thought it out to my team. And then we thought that, okay, she could help with a lot of administrative work and maybe some social media work as well. And it's been an exploration journey for her. I'm personally dedicating my time to helping her like advanced Google search skills using Google all of that. And whenever she comes with me with a question, I ask her, Olivia, have you Googled? Have you searched YouTube? Because I'm inculcating that whole idea of curiosity and ownership in her, right? And this is someone Olivia does not. In fact, Career View, we don't have an office space. Our office is on Google Workspace, right? So she's getting the bundle that she has to work with on a monthly or weekly or daily basis, and she's still able to build her skills. She's tapping into my experience. I'm also making sure that I'm getting her all the experience that she needs, whether she has to get an external support, whether she needs mentorship, whatever it is. I'm making sure that I'm crashing all my resources on her, right? So this is a perfect example of a remote internship. She approached me, and I mentioned that same thing about why I didn't want to take an intern. Right. So you have a lot of companies floating around like that, like a lot of startups actually floating around like that. And the thing is, you are allowed to make mistakes with these startups. Like, you can explore, make mistakes, learn from them, etc. Right. And you can still do this on a low budget. And these are things that they can actually open up to. When you're looking at a very well-established organization, like let's say a bank, like EcoBank, very hard for EcoBank to tell you to work from home or something as an intern. They would want to see you physically in the office. You get the point. So you have to go about it creatively. And there's going to be an approach from your end, because a lot of us business owners have that thought that we don't want any situation where someone goes somewhere and says, oh, this person ripped me off, they didn't pay me and all of that. So I wouldn't make that call. But if you approach me and I find that I can pour into you, if I couldn't dedicate time to mentor Olivia and all of that, I wouldn't have accepted the offer. I would have told her some other time, right? And I believe that there are some people out there. You can even approach Nancy and ask her what she wants to solve in a business right now. She will tell you a problem that she faces. You can negotiate for a bundle. Nancy might be able to afford that for you, and then you can start working. And that goes onto your resume, your training, your skills, etc., and would feed into the future for you. So, Oreko, in terms of remote internships, I'm not looking at like regular remote jobs, but going creatively, getting creative about how you land opportunities. When you go on Twitter, a lot of people, a lot of businesses have IG stores and all of that. Think about it. What skill do you want to build? How can this skill feed into the successes of these organizations, and then follow through with that?
Okay, thank you very much.
Beyond the SEO Africa and all of that, that's like tailored for starters because they can afford to have that done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, I think we'll just take one last question if there's any, and then we would allow Joel to tell us all about career wheel and what career wheel does for the young people out there, and then what could possibly how you could possibly get in touch with them if you wanted them to help you with your career navigation. So just one last question, and then we listen to what career wheel does. Anyone? No one. Well, Joel, I have just one last question. My question is about as a young university undergrad and getting anxious about the future of work, career, and all that, and being scared about whether there's going to be job for me. The program that I'm reading, I don't feel there's any job for me out there. So what would be your what do you think about the digital space right now, the internet, and the opportunities it has for an individual in that kind of situation? Okay, as what opportunities are available on the internet such that you can say that the person did not fear about unemployment?
So I would say that what you should be very anxious about really should be your inability to deliver when you are given a task. That's where your anxiety should start from. You should be very much anxious when you don't have the skills. And that anxiety should be a positive anxiety that drives you to chase after the skills, right? Exactly. So, there are freelance platforms. There are startups springing up here and there, right? And if you're able to push your anxiety in the right direction, you'll be able to build the right skills. And the goal is to look at how you can forget about job titles. It's something that I always tell people, like, forget about job titles. Think about the value that you can bring to companies. That's one. The other bit, all these fit into, because before you get valuable on a digital platform, like let's say Upwork, right? Upwork is a very big freelancing platform. Before you get value at that level, you should have the necessary skills. You should also know what the opportunities are. So for me, one of the models that I use is chasing information. And chasing information means talking to people, informational interviews. If you want to be a UI, UX person, go on LinkedIn, have a LinkedIn account, go on LinkedIn, find people, just type UI, UX, right? Find people. I think probably I would want to share my screen to do this.
Share your screen, please.
How to share my screen to do this. Let me share screen. Screen 2. Have a lot of tabs open. I'm shy. So linkedin.com. So if you are learning something, I mean, you've learned something, you want more information, you want to get informational interviews, all you have to do is to find that the key thing is to find the right people. I have a second screen, so you find me looking away. The key thing is to find different people, right? So let's say you are doing customer service, right? So you want to get someone who is into customer service. LinkedIn is very powerful. It has a way, because when you're filling your profile and stuff, you put it in buckets. It makes searching for things very, very easy. So if you are looking for customer service, you can filter based on services, people, because you are focusing on people. We can use people, right? And you have a whole lot. But the thing is that you can use different filters. So people are naturally drawn to people that they share the same value with. So in this case, I attended Accra Academy. It would be great to see if I can find someone who attended Accra Academy, right? That's a very good place to start from. So we say school, I can say, okay, let's see if I can get some Accra Academy people. So Accra Academy. So I show results. You see,
Wow.
all these are people who attended Accra Academy.
Wow.
Right? Ghana, Birmingham, whatever. If you so far you see them here, see, and there are 737 results. So like I have a head start, I have somewhere to start from, right? So let's say maybe I want to do that in the tech space, right? Let me see if there's someone working at Microsoft from Accra who is doing customer service. It might be a long stretch. Probably there's nobody there. So I wouldn't necessarily reach out to Microsoft, but I'll just have to scroll through the results, and you can apply the filters as much as possible, right? And let's say I want to talk to someone like Frederick Akins. I can click on his profile, or he works with MTN, or he's a sales manager, blah, blah, blah. He attended Accra Academy. Otherwise, so there you see, there you go. 2001 to 2004, he's my senior. So what I can do is that I can send Frederick a message, right? But I'll send the message as an invite. You get the point. And before I send Frederick a message, I need to take time to read his profile. What is he into? I just don't jump to send a message. I need to find a genuine way to connect, even beyond the Accra Academy. So maybe he does sales. Okay, that's fantastic. It's something I want to go into. He does B2B, B2C, business to business, business to customer sales. And if I look at his activity, he has a post. Probably has a post. I can look at the thing. So this it's a bit like stalking, but not really stalking, because in the end, you are just trying to find information to sort of
stalking.
Yes, exactly. So maybe he says an unhappy customer, once satisfied, can become a valuable resource. We've got we all have to be customer centric, blah, blah, blah. I can take time to watch this video. It's just 3 minutes, 30 seconds. And then like the comments, although it's 3 years ago, I can go and revive that post that, let me go back to his profile. So when I'm connecting, I just don't send a connection. I add a note. I have 300 characters. I don't have LinkedIn Premium, but I can still strike this connection. So I say, hey, Frederick, it is great to get in touch, my fellow Blel B. Accra Academy people, we are Blel B, so we are Blel Boys.
Sharp.
Watch this video. Commented on about customer service, and I am certain that this is fundamental for every business. I am curious to know or to learn about what you do at MTN. I hope we get to talk soon. Regards, Joel. So, because I didn't watch the video and understand everything, I'm not going to send this message, but it's just a this is just a mock-up.
Yeah.
This is just a mock-up. So I do this and I hit send, right? And hopefully I hear from Frederick, but he's not the only person that I'm going to hit, because out of 10 people that you hit up, about 2 will respond or 1 will respond. So that should be a target that I'm doing this for 10 people, and you get better alongside. It gets enjoyable. You just need to learn about the person. You don't need to start from a point of, hey, Frederick, I want to learn about sales. From what you I want to learn about sales, and I see that you do that at MTN. Let's talk soon, or something. Like, always try to have a personal touch, because if someone sends that message and someone else's message like this gets to him, he is most likely going to be drawn to this, because I've mentioned Blair, I've taken time to look at what's on his profile, and I'm making a pitch that I want to learn more about what he does. It's different if you can't find anything at all, and the only thing that is there is that they are in a space that you're in. Then you can go straight ahead and say, oh, I'm a student, I'm done with school, and I'm exploring options. Realize that you're making a very good impact in this particular area of work, and I'll be happy to get in touch and have a chat with you. Because when you look at him, he started from Vodafone, team leader, now sales manager. You can actually even comment on, oh, you've done an amazing job, like rising through the ranks, blah blah blah. It's just a way to get people to respond, right? And there's a gist of cold emailing, but that's how it works. And so when you get in touch with Frederick, that's when you now start finding your information, because you read things on the internet, you've learned things. Now Frederick will come in to give you the practical things on the ground. Not everything on the internet is true. And remember too that Frederick would have his own biases. So doing this with 2, 3, 4, 5 other people now gives you a range of options, and I'm like, okay, this is something that I want to go into. So I would go into it. So that's basically, before you start thinking about, oh, okay, freelancing on Upwork and all of that, these are the decisions that you have to make. Am I getting into the right space? Is my skills useful, right? How are my skills useful? When you Google informational interview, just Google informational interview questions. It would show you a lot of things that you can ask. What are your main responsibilities? What's a typical day? So when you're able to have that conversation with whoever, was it Frederick? You'd ask these things. These are the kind of questions that you'd ask to be validated. So you don't get to ask everything, but you get to ask some of them, right? And you get to use that to validate the kind of things that you want to go into. It also helps you to know whether you have a skill gap that you have to bridge and all of that. And that makes you an all-rounded person before you finish school. Even if you're a graduate, give yourself time to build up those skills. And now you can become competitive on those platforms, those Upwork platforms, or even remote jobs. So yeah, that's just something that's a quick one that's probably I decided to add on. It wasn't part of the plan, but yes.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. So I think at this juncture we would really thank you for spending this amount of time with us to share with us knowledge about some of the mistakes, some of the opportunities that we miss when we are in the universities, and how we can reframe our mindsets about learning in the universities, and then see how we can take chances in school and get our skills up before we leave the system. And I believe that if we are able to pick up these skills and try to experiment the small knowledges that we pick up in the classrooms, it'll go a long way to help all of us. I am an example of what we are talking about. I'm thinking Nancy is also a typical example of what you are talking about. I mean, you are an example of what you are talking about. And we have people like Sharon and Beatrice and all of these people around. So I believe that as we go on interacting with all these people or more people, it is going to become clear that what we are talking about is actually something that all of us could jump into and save ourselves from. The inefficiencies of our educational system. At Teacher and Star Joe, what is career wheel?
Okay, well, I won't talk much. Career wheel, we offer career navigation services for mostly for professionals, but we also, offer advice for students and all of that. Our core focus has been on professionals for some time, but we offer core advice to students as well. You can find out more about what we do at mycareerwheel.com. I mean, I put the link in the bio. I wouldn't use much time to talk about it. Everything is literally on there. And if you want to get in touch, you can get in touch via productivityoptimizer@gmail.com. On Twitter is productivityopt. When you go on LinkedIn, Instagram, it's saying Productivity Optimizer, Facebook, across all platforms. And you can get in touch with me as well. My Twitter handle is Anaman, JYANAMAN. You can always bump in, discuss ideas here and there, and come prepared, because I would ask you, have you used YouTube?
No,
what did people on YouTube say before we go on?
I think it's a good thing, and even the fact that we decided not to talk so much about Career Wheel, and that there's the website where everything has been put there. It's even a step in the same direction that you have been sharing. You don't have to tell everyone everything, because the information has already been shared over there.
I think I'm losing Ben. Probably it's my network.
Yeah, you're frozen. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now, I think.
Yeah. So I think I was saying that the fact that you didn't say everything about Career Wheel, but give us the website where everyone could just go and check out everything is there. It's the same thing you have been sharing. So you have to chase information, and that's a good thing. That's a good training. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, guys. So Nancy. So I think my job is done right now. What is next for the people out there? I'm sure you have some work for them, so give it to them.
Thank you all so much. I think we've taken a lot of your time, but we are grateful that you are still here. We would also ask that you keep in touch with us, because we're organizing this every last Saturday of every month. So we would love that you join us every month for another insightful webinar. And you can also follow us on our socials at the Better Me Project on all social platforms.
Sure.
So that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
And thank you, Benjamin and Nancy, for this opportunity. At least you made me do a lot of throwbacks into like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, and Nancy and I are church members, not the same, but church members. Yeah. So
there's always has to be that point of connection, just like we did with our car.
Benjamin, when Benjamin was introducing you, you also said, oh, and he's also a church member.
I knew why I said that.
I was like, fantastic.
I knew why I said that. I had to be quick with that so that it will make things easy.
Yeah, you did a good job with that.
Yeah. So guys, please, if you're looking at the chat right now, I have put a Google form there. We collected emails and numbers of all of you. So if you haven't registered, please register to it so that we can keep your email and phone number, and then reach out to you with all the wonderful things that could be coming up. And we have recorded this session, so we will be sending it to you. And if we have your email, and then you can easily have access to the next webinar. So guys, thank you so much for coming, and have a wonderful
Thank you very much, Joel.
I have my baby cousin on as well, Valerie. Thank you. Thank you for the thank you.
Okay,
I think
nice.
somebody, let me just send the link right again.
Thank you too.
So Sharon, we'll be connecting with you, okay? Through Joel, I know we are going to connect like thousands of people. So Sharon, we're getting to you.
I was going to ask something. I was going to ask one last thing. If you are on, stay on. How would you judge the session in just one word and rank it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like that's to everyone.
Yes, that's to everyone.
Yes,
if you're on the call,
yeah.
Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10,
Mhm.
how did you enjoy the session? And also in one word, how would you describe the session? Just one word.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Honest feedback.
Yes.
I think Valerie wants to speak.
Yeah, Valerie wants to say something, then Sharon too. So
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was really insightful for me. Especially the self-awareness first. Mostly it's like we don't know what we actually want to do, but what Joel said, it's more like
Using the house
that's
name.
wrong.
what's
It's more like pardon.
and you want to
So
spoil
it's more
this
like
one.
yeah. So it's more like start from yourself, start from where you are. Try out new stuff. Don't just go to the theory part, but try new stuff and mostly like explore. So yeah, it was really insightful, and I'm sure I'll be in his PM soon. And on a scale of 1 to 10, being biased, it's a 10. Not being biased, it's a 9.
Wow.
Like the
Thank you.
I think Sharon's hand is up. Oh.
Yeah, Sharon, please. Yeah, after Valerie, Sharon, good to hear from you.
Hey, thank you very much. Hi everyone. So in one word, I'll describe the session as reassuring because a lot of the things that I heard here, there are things that I've been thinking about, things that like I have plans on doing and pursuing. So like hearing everything Joel said just made me know that okay, Sharon, like you're on the right path, so that you should continue what you're doing. Because sometimes it's like it's like you're the only one like doing something different, right? Like everybody else is on another path, right? So and everything Joel said made me know that okay, you're doing something right, so continue. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give the session a 10 because I don't know anything that was wrong with it.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah, you know, there was a lot of anxiety on my part when we were organizing this, because I was wondering like we didn't start like promotion early, so how are people going to join and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden we were like, okay, finally let's just start and then see what is going to happen.
Sometimes you just have to start.
Yeah.
You just have to start. Even if it was 5 people, I would have been excited to interact with them. Yeah, the other people chose violence. They didn't come. It's great. Thank you so much for the time and also the comments. The 9/10. All the people give 9/10 and 8. I'll chase you for my 1 and 9.
Exactly.
You're acting like Ghanaian teachers. Don't give it 10/10. They'll say, the score is too perfect. So let's give it 9 or 8.5. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. So I think it's a wrap.
Yes, it's a wrap.
Yeah, Nancy. So it's a wrap, right? So we are going to
Yeah.
via email. We'll be mailing you some ideas, thoughts. I mean, we'll be reproposing the whole webinar into a whole lot of interesting things. So watch out for that again. Charlie, enjoy the night.
All right. Awesome. Bye.
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 Bye.